everybody, welcome back to Creating Hanley. My name is Kimberly here at Creating Hanley, and this is a sliced apple. This is part of our pear and apple series. So adding to the bushel of our fruit is this sliced apple. Now I call it sliced apple because you can see the inside of the apple here. Now if you've been following along, the first video was a pear and the second video was a whole apple. And now we are slicing into the inside core here. So let's dive in. Now, what you will need for the apple sliced is the same setup for the apple and pear that we've been using so far for the stem and leaf. So make your half square triangle in whatever color you're using for the leaf. I'm using green and my background is this cream color. So once you make your half square triangles, you arrange them in this order so that when you use your a 1/4 inch seam allowance right here, it becomes this, right? Okay, and I've been putting my leaf off to this side, but you can put it off to this side if you want. Just arrange your half square triangles like so. Here we go. So you're going to arrange your half square triangles like this. When you sew them together, face sides together, 1/4 inch seam allowance, open that up, that becomes a unit. Okay, and then you would put your stem on this side and then your background over here. Okay, but I've been doing it like this, and it works in my head that way the best. So what you're also going to need is a couple of you only need 2 half square triangles because we're only doing, this is like the whole apple over here. We're only doing 2 half square triangles, and then this piece is going to be different. So of the rest of the series, we're doing an apple bite, we're doing an apple core, we're doing a whole apple, and then I have a surprise pear. It's coming up soon, so stay tuned for that. But I'm going to show you how to do all these. I'm going to do the hard one first. So this is kind of the more fiddly part, the more difficult part, and then we're going to do the Pac-Man quote one, the apple bite, and then the apple core, which is, I think, the easiest and probably the funnest. But that's up to you to decide. So anyway, I'm going to set these aside. And then, so what you need for this, once you have your stem and leaf unit put together, because you've already done this already, you know how to do this, you're going to need a half square triangle set for this side, but not for this side. And then you only need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1.5 inch squares. So you have your 2 half square triangles, and you have 6 1.5 inch squares already pre-cut, ready to go. So whatever scrappy fabric you want to use, those are set and ready to go. Okay, so I'm just going to set these aside. My units, those are prepared. Now, this part is going to be the trickiest. You guys already know how to do this. You've done this with the whole apple and the whole pear. You've done this with the whole apple and the whole pear. That should be easy at this point. You already know what to do here. This part is much more difficult. So, but it's not super difficult because I did the math for you. Okay. So what you're going to need here, now my core, I used this bee fabric. You don't have to use bee. I just found this in a remnant section and I thought it was cute fabric and I bought it, so I had it in my stash, but you can use whatever you want. Now I have seen the core with applique 3 seeds. I have seen that on, but I'm not going to do that because it's too fussy for me right now, and I just want to use this. I think it's cute. Bees in an apple, it makes sense, right? Better than flies. Anyway, so what you're going to need is, for the core, you need a 2.5 inch by 4.5 inch rectangle. That's this. So it's basically a brick. 2.5 inch by 4.5 inch rectangle. Now you can see I drew lines on here already. I did the math for you. So let's talk about this right now. This part is easy. You know how to do this. You know how to put on the border. So I have my border strips all ready to go. Okay, now you're going to need a couple of extra scraps. So we did this in the pair. We just used a couple of extra scrap pieces. So I just have like some scrap background pieces cut. You want to make sure that it covers that area, right? So that it's big enough that it covers that little square there, up here and there. Okay, so have a couple of extra background scraps ready to go so we can do that. Okay, so all that is set aside. Super. Now, let's just focus on this. So, we're going to need a couple of strips of whatever fabric we want to go around the outside. So, this is the skin of the apple. Now, you don't have to make this as thick as I did. I made it kind of, actually a little bit wonky and kind of thick. This was, yeah, this got a little bit crazy when I was doing this. However, I like racked my brain and I drew this and I redrew it and yeah. So I figured it out and this is how it goes. So if you're making this size apple, this only works if you're making this size apple. If you're making a different size apple, this is not going to be exactly correct, but the theory behind it will be the same. So you can always follow that. Just the dimensions will be a little bit different. So again, 2.5 inches by 4.5 inches. Now, you can see my pencil drawings on here. Looks like an architect was at this. And bees are architects, right? So anyway, or maybe an engineer. I don't know. So what I did was I drew, and let me take a measuring device here for you. So I'm just going to use this edge. Now, maybe you can see that. What I did was I measured a 1/4 inch in, and then I measured a 1/2 inch in. So this is a 1/2 inch in. This inside line is a 1/2 inch in from the edge, and this line right here is a 1/4 inch in from the edge. And I did that on 3 sides. You don't need to do it on here because this is where you're attaching it to your Scrappy unit there. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. But this is the outside. This is the outside rim, the skin of the apple. This is what you're gonna see. So I took a couple of strips, just so long. I didn't measure it. It's just this long. And I did measure this. I believe it's 3/4 inches. Yes. So just like the stem, this is 3/4 inch width. And that's because a 1/4 inch seam allowance on both sides will reveal a 1/4 inch skin. Now mine got a little bit wonky here. That's because of how I put the border on. Yeah, but anyway, it should be a 1/4 inch all the way around. Now these two parts will get a little bit tricky, but that's why I drew these lines here. Okay, so check it out. Once you have your lines drawn, and I recommend drawing your lines because you're really going to need them. So draw your lines a 1/4 inch in and a 1/2 inch in from all 3 edges. And then for the corner, this is going to be, let's see, how did I do that? So what I did, I'm going to use a different measuring. So my 45-degree angle, I used my 45-degree angle right on the edge. So I'm lining up my 45-degree angle on the edge here. This is the top edge. And I line up the point and the 45-degree angle. And then when I measure here, this becomes, this is a 1/2 inch, and this is 3/4 of an inch. So this, I drew this at 1.25 inches. So this is 1.25 inches in, and then this is 1 inch in. So this is 1 inch in. This first line right here, you can sort of see it right here. Let me use my scissors. So this line right here at this diagonal is 1 inch in from the corner, and this is 1 1/4 inch in right there. Okay, so I made my dots and then drew a straight line. Now you can also measure this way. If you come down from here, I believe it's going to be 1 and it should be 1 1/8. I believe it's going to be 1 1/8, but you don't need to worry about that too much. One and a quarter, and I'm sorry, it should be 1 1/2 from here. Draw your dot, 1 1/2 inch, and then measure up here 1 1/4, and that's where that lines up there. And then this should be the same here, 1 1/4. Put your dot, and then 1 1/2. Put your other dot, and then draw straight line and straight line. Okay, do that for both corners. I hope that didn't confuse you. Now, once you have all of your lines drawn, you're going to put your red apple skin fabric face side down. And you can start however you want, whatever side you want. I'm going to start on the short side. So let's just start on the short side. Face side down, and you're going to put it on the line. So this edge on the line closest to you. So at the 1/2 inch mark. Put that there. And then you sew. I'm sorry, I take that back. Let me think about this. I just told you the wrong thing. Okay. So you put your, let me take that back. So reconsider. Put your skin on the 1/4 inch. So another 1/4 inch from that. So now you're sewing directly on the 1/2 inch mark. And then you fold this over. And now you have completed your apple skin. So your apple skin should line up exactly on the outside of the apple core rectangle. I hope that makes sense. So I'm just going to leave this here so you guys can see that. Now, if you're really concerned about being too short trimming, so this was only 3/4 inch. You can make this a 1 inch wide strip, and that'll give you extra wiggle room so that you can trim that exactly. Okay, so let me go over this again. You have your apple skin trim. You're going to place it on the 1/4 inch line. And then you're not going to see this line is basically what I'm saying. This is a blind line. But this is your sew line. So once you put this directly on that 1/4 inch, you know you're going to sew along here. And when you flip it over, if you see the line or, something, if you see too much of the line, then you know you've cut your seam a little bit too short. But it doesn't matter. If you want less than a 1/4 inch, you can have an 1/8 inch showing of the fabric. So this is really thick, right? If you wanted half of that, use an 1/8 inch. I hope this is making sense, okay? But once you have sewn that on there and you fold it over, iron it down, press it down, finger press, whatever, trim it up so it's exactly on here. Now what you can do to trim is flip this over and then just trim, follow along that line. So you can protect that fabric by using a straight edge and protect that, and then take your blade and zip it along there to clean up any red edge, okay? So you're going to protect this edge. You want to use all of this fabric. All right, so that's that. Now, you can place the red down. Now, if you look closely at the layers here, what I did was the edge first. Because the edge, or the corner, I did the corner first. Because you can see these two pieces overlap this corner piece. And same with this one down here. I did the corners first. And then I did the sides and the top and bottom and side. So you can do that if you want to. Also, it may not matter too much what order you do it in, but it might matter in your head how that looks, okay? So again, when you have the corner of this rectangle and kind of like an arrow pointing towards you, you put the fabric edge side that way, and then you sew your 1/4 inch, and when you flip it over, now the red covers that, and you're going to have this little piece extra, which is great because you're going to cover that with your Scrappy background. And then you do the same thing. You put that right there, and then you open this up, and then that's what that looks like. And then you take it to the back, and that's what that looks like. And then you take your square measuring cutting tool, right? And you line that up absolutely perfectly on the rectangle, and then you zip, zip, clean up that edge, and that's how you get this piece right here. This piece, this unit, okay? For both, and do that for both corners. Okay, and then once you have that, adding this piece, and this piece is quite simple. And then you have this unit. Then you need to build this unit. So you take oh, here they are. You take your half square triangle, and your red. However you want to line that up. That is up to you. Let's see, 2. So 2 more here, here, and 1 for here. Great. And that's how that works. You sew these together, and then you sew your rows together. It creates this unit. And now once you have this unit, it's going to be like this unit and this unit, you put those together. And then at the top, then you sew your leaf and stem unit on, just like we did the first 2 sessions, the apple and the whole pear. Exactly the same. And now you can put your sashing on, or the little border. It's still a raw edge though, okay? Because we're going to use this in another project. So, as I started to say, in the whole apple, you can use this individually. If you wanted to make a little mug rug, that's awesome. This would be a super cool mug rug, and especially if we have 4 different types of apples. There's 4 different placemat settings there. You could do that. I'm also coming up with a different type of pear, which is going to be really cool. So you can use your pears and your apples. You could also do this with the pear if you want. It's going to be a little bit more fiddly because the pear comes in at the top. So it has the big bulb section at the bottom, and then it comes in at the top a little bit. So it's going to be a much different work here. In fact, it's probably going to be a two-part thing. You do the bottom and then you do the top. So if you want to see that demonstrated, I can do a video on that one too. Okay, so that's how that looks, and that's it. And then you have this unit, and then you add this to the collection that you have started. Put this in your bushel basket of fruit. And we are going to be back in the next video talking about the apple bite. All right, guys, have fun making this. I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.